All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining. And we got started a little bit late today, but we'll get on with the agenda pretty soon. So I dropped a link to the code of conduct on the meeting channel. We are taking notes simultaneously on OFTC as well. So feel free to add your notes yourself. And if I'm saying something wrong, feel free to correct me there as well. Um, but let's get started with the meeting agenda. So the link to the agenda um, and this meeting itself is now going to be on IRC. Right. And let's kick off with roll call. Feel free to add your roll call in the IRC channel. All right. I think that's everyone but Rickler, and he doesn't attend these video meetings. So let's get started. The first topic that we have for today is this meeting with the VMware working group. But before that, let's just round up on last week's AIs pretty quickly. I don't think we had a whole lot of them, but we'll look through. Okay, so I think we had some Coda test failures in the SDK job. We said we'd keep a tab on that. And we said we'd revisit this week. Ghanshyam, has there been any change to this or?
Uh, okay, that's the job, adding more job in.
Yeah.
No, I have not got any chance to look into those. Got busy
Okay.
in other things. So I'll I'll check maybe this week or I think the next week I'll be able to check. So that was mainly like to increase the job cross project job coverage in STK. So it's not something is currently broken. It's something we are improving our testing in STK. So I'll look into it maybe next week.
Yes. Thank you. And the next one we had was around translations. So I think I know some of the discussion happened in the IRC channel after our meeting, and I don't know if Sylvain, did you have any contact with the I-18 folks, I-18N folks after that?
Well, yes and no. As you said, we already discussed that in the IC channel. So Jan is currently starting to work on the translation system, automatic translation system for Nova documentation.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I don't know if he had time to look at the problem for for the translation current stuff. So to be honest, I don't know.
Okay. Thank you. And we did have another one to merge any leaderless project changes, and all of those were done. Thank you for your reviews. So at this point, I think I went back into our Etherpad and also closed it out. So there are no more actions pending from there. Right. All right. That's the end of our AIs that we had from the past meeting. We can discuss the TC summary from the PTG and the AIs from that at a different time. Let's move on to the next topic. Actually, let me pause. Was there anything else that anybody else was um, tracking that we've not captured?
Just one question. Do we want to discuss the governance patch for the goal, or do we prefer to discuss data sync?
Which one is that? The eventlet goal or the
Yeah, indeed. That's the current one that is open on review.
I see.
That's just a
Okay.
question.
Yeah, no, so we can do that during the open discussion time, or we can add a different topic um, for it. It can be, I mean, since reviews can happen async, we generally don't bring this up in the meetings unless nobody's paying attention, right?
No, I mean, no worries. Just the fact that I think it's important to review it.
Yeah.
I did not really have time to basically review the change, but okay, fair enough. No, I mean, maybe we don't need to discuss that, but just in case, I don't know. Cool.
Thank you for bringing it up. I think the patch has some reviews already from Frickler, and I think Hervé was planning to update it as well. So if you are reviewing it, it's a good time to do so. But I'm not sure the update has been posted yet. It's not.
No, it's
Um,
not. It's not yet.
okay.
So maybe it would be better for me to review it first,
Yeah,
because if he provides a new revision,
he can
anyway.
do it with the changes that you
Yeah,
propose. Yeah,
yeah.
perfect. Thanks for bringing it up. All right, let's switch over to the next topic on the meeting, which is our engagement with the VMware OpenStack working group. And Allison and Jimmy, floor is yours.
Thank you. So I had reached out after the Dalmatian Open Infra Live when I saw one of the TC or community-wide OpenStack goals was VMware feature parity. And so one of the things that Jimmy and I discussed was we have this working group that we've been working with a lot of different Open Infra Foundation members, talking about what some of those gaps are and like identifying in their conversations from either a vendor or an operator what the most strategic gaps are. And I would love to figure out a way, if it's helpful, to connect those conversations with the TC or in general the upstream community, because I think that that's kind of the point of the working group, is to not only just complain about what those gaps may be or discuss workarounds, but also to impact the future development of the software. So I guess I was curious, one, I know Gotham kind of explained more around the structure of the goal and how it already has several things that were kind of bundled under a commonality of feature parity for VMware. But I was curious as, is there a way that we can bridge the groups or even a desire to connect them so that they can help drive some of that feature development, even if it's for beyond epoxy, because I think that this is going to be an ongoing need for both operators as well as the vendor ecosystem supporting OpenStack.
Awesome. And I can add to that. So I think I caused a little bit of confusion during the the project updates and so on after Dalmatian by using the terminology that was there, which is VMware migration and parity. And the reason for that is because we were bundling a bunch of things that we were doing as part of the TC under that topic, but I didn't expand. So let me expand on what's going on as far as the TC is capturing. One is the revival of the Watcher project, which was identified as a gap between I mean, as a gap, as in we have this functionality and we don't have maintainers for the functionality that seems to be important for folks that are coming in from with expectations around how VMware clouds work, for instance. And so that seems like one action item that we were able to knock off. At least governance-wise, we've got some considerable involvement from the community right now, and that project is being worked on by a number of new contributors that have been nominated as the liaisons for that project. And that provides, I think, one facet of the parity difference, which is the DRS functionality, I'm told. But there could be other things as far as that functionality goes. that Watcher can bring us. And we have in this group been Dimitri is here, but outside of this group as well, we have had volunteers that have been trying to drive um, uh, the revival of the project that's around storage backups in OpenStack, and that's Freezer. And I mean, we've have. I think I can ask Dimitri for a status update on that one. But as far as the TC is concerned, we've been supportive of keeping that project alive, unlock and unbricking the CI failures and maintaining it for folks that are still finding it useful and stuff. So I've seen that as also being mentioned as something that is in needs it's is needed by folks that are coming in from VMware again. And might be missing something else. Does anybody else have any other items that we were knocking off in the TC as far as feature parity or even remotely concerned with the VMware migration plans?
For what it's worth, I'm currently looking at the link. From OpenStack VMware migration to OpenStack, I'm currently looking at all the projects from OpenStack, and I'm just verifying whether we have a team for all of them. I mean, like Trove, I'm currently double checking.
I think from what I've been hearing from organizations that are moving to VMware, those you've hit on the three main ones, Gutham. I think that
I guess
the question I would have is like how can the VMware migration group help the TC achieve those goals? And is there any particular thing that we can start driving towards? Because we have our meeting next Monday, the 11th, the next quarterly meeting. So would definitely love to be able to come back to them with some next steps. And also, sorry, I'm throwing a lot out there, but if there's anything on on that VMware migration landing page that you think could benefit from some extra attention, or something that could be corrected, please feel free to reach out and we can take care of that as well.
I think one of the things was confusing as opposed to what the working group wants to work on, right? Like technically, but just by the name of it, it appears that we might have some VMware integrations that we care about within OpenStack, and I think Jay is bringing that up. Jay, do you want to clarify?
I was just making the comment that it would be easy to make the mix up, as quite frankly I did until this conversation started, that we might be referring to the existing working group. Like, I don't think it's an official thing, but it's a group of people who are trying to rescue the VMware driver in Nova. So it's just the nomenclature is a little bit confusing is all.
So
Yes,
I mean, if I can help about Nova, let me tell it. I mean, the VMware driver is maybe different, right? It's not really something that people want. I mean, for the VMware migration, let me explain it more. Basically, we had a company that was wanting to use VMware, that was using the VMware driver before, and given we were saying that we should be stopping it to accepting it, then eventually they said, okay, but actually we could be helping here. So that's why this is currently being worked, because of that specific company. at least now I can say that the driver is better. The VMware is better in Nova. We have a third-party CI now for that specific driver. So that means that we can test it. But I don't know, and that's when I'm looking at the link at the OpenStack to VMware link. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't know whether I don't know whether it's I don't know whether it's I mean whether it's needed for upstream for upstream for upstream operators, whether they will wanting it. That's my point.
That's actually interesting because I hadn't thought about it as it could be working together. And I guess you could consider the fact that we might have a working VMware driver as part of the migration path. So that's a really good insight and a perspective I hadn't considered. So thank you for pointing me in the right direction there.
Well, and that's something we can absolutely add to our agenda in terms of getting more awareness. Do you happen to know what company it was that contributed to the revival?
I cannot know, but
Okay.
if you I can get you this in like 2 or 3 minutes.
Oh, no, okay, that's fine. We can connect via email on it. But just knowing if they're even participating, I'd like to give them a shout out as we talk to the working group about it for their work and to helping to revive it. But it's something that we can talk to them and figure out how to add to the landing pages. Because the more people that know about it, hopefully the more the people that use it and also want to contribute back to it. Because this group is very eager, which is why we wanted to make sure we're connecting it with the TC because they do want to impact change with this migration opportunity.
Yeah, and about the VMware driver, like in Nova, the CI is still failing, like it's not recovered, right? So we deprecated it like very, very long back. We tried to remove, I think, as Levin mentioned, but we got a message like, no, someone want to help, and we kept it. But still, the CI is not in good shape. It's still failing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
just to be clear, I'm currently looking. I know I'm looking at who was working on that.
Mhm.
Okay, I found it. SAP SE, SAP SE. So yeah. So just to be clear, it was because we were about to remove this driver because we are not having some job for it. So when we said about that, we had a bit afraid of the driver because we are not testing it. And when we provided an email, eventually someone from that company said, "Oh, actually, we would like to continue to be using it." So we explained it that they should be maybe trying to have some kind of third-party job, and eventually they did it. So what Jim said is correct. So the job is currently running in Nova. They have some problems, but every week we discuss that on the Nova meeting. So we are continuing to verify whether it's working or not.
But my question is like, again, related to what Jay asked, whether this working group is going to cover that scope also. Like, if people wanted to keep the VMware support, obviously they can, and it's good. But is this working group also having the scope of, encouraging more people to continue maintain the support, or this working group just has a scope of providing the migration path?
I would say it's more around the operator path of going from one to the other. But that said, like we've had folks like Dan Smith participate, and people who was like bringing up Watcher and how it needed more participation. And like, so I do think that, you know, there's the operational aspect, but with the teams that we've worked with, we've also like had more technical conversations where contributors join. So I think it's very possible that we could kind of wrap some of the driver conversation into that and do a call for volunteers to talk about, you know, needing to help make sure it's actually working, and that, you know, in working within the community to do that. I would say it's an evolving group. It's only been around for a few months, so I don't want to say yes, they will do this, but I think it's something worth including, because the migration path in totality is what they're focusing on, and the driver seems like a pretty key part of that the community is focused on. So I want them to work together. So that's something that Jimmy added to the agenda for Monday, and we can report back if there are folks that, you know, are interested, and point them to the weekly Nova meetings.
This is cool. As I said, so basically we have an upstream meeting every every sorry, like today, like 1 hour before we had the Nova meeting. So
Okay.
basically every Tuesday, sorry. So basically, if someone wants to help the SAP company for that specific driver because they would like to continue to be using it, yeah, sure, they can go to that specific meeting. Alison, if you don't really know about the time that we have the Nova meeting, I would just provide you the time.
I'll find it on the, I'm assuming it's
Yeah.
online. Yeah.
It's this is 5 p.m. UTC, I think.
So 17, yeah, 17 is okay.
No. 4 p.m. UTC, my bad. 4 p.m. UTC. Am I
Okay.
right, Jiman? Yeah, I think this is 4 p.m. UTC. Yeah, because this was
Yeah.
5 p.m. my time, so yeah. And we
Okay.
had the DST, so that's why.
And so this is every other Tuesday. So not today, but 2 weeks from today, you'll have the next one.
No. Every week, every
Every week.
Tuesday, every Tuesday, 4 p.m. UTC.
Perfect. Thank you.
On the OpenStack on the
OFT.
OpenStack Nova channel.
Okay. OpenStack Nova. Perfect.
Yeah, and I would just to clarify, one of the primary reasons that we did this is after doing a member survey, one of the big things that came up was that operators and public cloud providers, again, operators, but are concerned that there's a lack of education in the market of like what it means to move from VMware to OpenStack. And there's this kind of idea that this old idea that OpenStack is so complicated and it takes dozens of operators and yada 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 and dozens of developers to manage. So a lot of what we've been focusing on so far is really trying to get that message out to the public and putting out the white paper and getting those things picked up in the press. So I think, as Allison mentioned, this is sort of a long tail opportunity. So we're looking to see, what's next. These were good first steps, but whatever we can do to help the TC along and to help and continue to improve the image of OpenStack in the market and as a viable alternative to VMware, we want to do. So we're definitely working to encourage people to participate more upstream and continue to get these companies more involved. So definitely appreciate y'all working on these things and also giving us some advice along the way.
Yeah, so basically for what it's worth, I just basically checked every project that you said that was related, and basically we have contributors for each of them, so that's cool. But indeed, if people want to help, sure sure. For example, let's say for the instance HA functionality with Mazakari, I was looking at the number of changes that they have. They don't have a lot of contributors, so if they really want to have like instance HA, they could be looking at Masakari if they want. Yeah, indeed.
So one question,
Yep.
thing. So this working group is at the Open Infra Foundation level, not or are you planning to put under TC if you need help, or how
So
how you
yeah, right now we have it at the foundation level as we also have folks contributing from the Starling X side as well. And we're trying to orient it more around getting our members more engaged and involved from an operator and upstream perspective. So we've kind of worked with them more directly on it. So at the current, I could see it eventually being more project level, but right now we're trying to keep it more top level. Some of those reasons.
Yeah, it makes sense. And as Jimmy mentioned, like it more requires some of the education about upstream and thing also. So definitely we from the OpenStack TC or even the other community member, we can also volunteer to participate, and wherever we need help, definitely we can do
Yes,
that.
that would be great. When we have more technical oriented meetings, I'll put it out on the TC channel on OFTC to see if someone can join. Last year, having Dan participate was incredibly helpful. So making y'all more aware of some of those meetings is something that we can make sure to make a priority.
Yeah, I would just throw in one thing we're trying to avoid is operators coming with a list of things that they want and really try to get them working upstream along with you all and ensure that these are community driven goals and not just like stuff people are asking for. I know that's often a concern. So definitely something we're being mindful of and trying to steer everybody in the right direction.
Any other questions, or I'm happy to yield our time. Great. Well, Gotham, thank you again for putting this on the agenda. This is really helpful, and we'll continue to keep the TC more looped in as the group progresses and also on upcoming meetings that would benefit from y'all's technical expertise. But that's all we have for today.
Awesome. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Jimmy.
Of course.
Thanks, Gotham.
Yep.
Thanks, Alice and Jimmy.
Bye.
Right. Let's step back and let me refresh because I think we may have seen an agenda item being added or not. Artem, I don't know if you edited the wiki, but if you want to have your topic now, that's a good this thing. Sorry, it's a little out of the ordinary, but that's fine because the rest of our agenda is our usual agenda.
Great, thank you. The summary of the topic is OpenStack doc theme is currently having the only one remaining core reviewer, which is Steven, and no one else is actually having a look on that. A little bit of background. Working on open APIs, I have started creating new Sphinx extension that helps us rendering the open API specs into basically something looking like current API reference and hybrid basically between current API ref and the Swagger. And working on that, I have figured out that OpenStack doc theme currently stuck on the 5 years old Bootstrap, which is deprecated, well, as I said, 5 years old Bootstrap, and it requires update. I created a change for updating it that immediately breaks OS API ref. Fixing OS API ref, I have figured out that, and here is the funny part. Through the TC membership, I now have core reviewers in OS API ref repository. But I do not have core reviewer repositories, and apparently nobody from TC is having core reviewers core permissions in the OpenStack doc theme. And Steven explicitly says that since he is the only remaining core reviewer there, and this change is actually something a little bit bigger with a little bit bigger impact. He explicitly wants that something like maybe TC start participating or TC have core reviewer permissions in the OpenStack doc theme repo. That's basically the topic.
So this is about API ref or OpenStack.
No, it's about literally OpenStack doc theme. I have looked through the group inheritance, and apparently, basically, TC is included into the OS API ref repository through some of the madness inclusions of the groups. But TC is not included into the OpenStack doc theme repository,
So
and this is
basically,
something
like
of a
these,
bigger.
when, like, as a background, when the doc team, we used to have the doc team, right? When there was no one there to maintain, so we moved that technical writer SIG or doc team repository under TC because we had no choice. But if you look into this API ref and OpenStack doc theme, they are under the Oslo project. So moving them under from Oslo to TC or any other project, I'm not sure what it will solve. I think the problem is about getting more core, and it's can stay under the Oslo itself, right? Because OpenStack doc theme, I remember we have discussed in previous one of the TC meeting also, where Frickler raised the same concern that it is not maintained and whether we can put it under TC or not. But the again question is putting under TC doesn't help, right? It's more like to encourage more core to maintain these repo.
That's exactly my point. What will it solve if we have it in the I mean, if the TC folks can be in the governance for that specific repo. If I understand correctly your point, it's because you want to change OpenStack.sim repo due to the Open API usage, right? But unfortunately, you are not able to have many maintainers for that, right?
Yeah. Currently, OpenStack doc theme is stuck with incredibly old libraries. Someone need to take care of updating that. I created a change, and there is pretty much nobody who is reviewing that. And this is of a bigger impact towards the whole OpenStack. I mean, from the TC point of view.
Correct. That's my concern. I mean, this is related to Sphinx, right? So the maintainers of that repository should be, I wouldn't be saying Sphinx experts, but at least should be some kind of Sphinx SMEs. They should be at least knowing about that. To be clear, for me, I'm not that. So that means that if I become a maintainer for that repo, even if I was a maintainer for that repo, I wouldn't be able to review the changes because I'm not a Sphinx not contributor, but like I'm not really knowing about Sphinx. Even if I know a bit of that, that's my concern. So here, what I hear is that we need to update that repository for many reasons. But what I also hear is that this is also impacting a lot of our projects, right? So I would be very afraid of reviewing any change to that repository if that would impact like most of the service projects, the documentation. Exactly like SDK that could impact. But here this is even more difficult because then the API reference could be having problems. So I understand your point. I'm not saying we don't need maintainers. Yes, indeed, we need maintainers. But my concern is that I'm not really sure that the TC is the best maintainers, folks, for that specific repository.
And Gautam, I think what you wrote is Open API ref is maintained by TC. That's API site, which we have because that part of the manual. OS-API-ref is still under Oslo.
Oh, okay.
TC
So
doesn't maintain that.
that's my bad.
Yeah,
Those
but
names are
TC
confusing, I remember, just
has
to
access
clarify.
there.
I see.
That's the funny
Okay,
fact.
I'll fix that. But we have a couple of raised hands. And let me see. Sylvain, you have been speaking. So Clark, I think.
How about now? There we go. I just wanted to ask, would it simplify things and be good enough if we just used Swagger instead? Like if you're already generating the Open API definitions and Swagger is a third-party tool that generates these
Clark, not
user...
possible.
Not possible?
Not possible. OpenStack APIs are still using quite a lot of dirty tricks that are not Swagger compatible.
Okay.
That's the whole idea behind our own Open API work that I'm doing.
Thanks.
Jake?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment that I think that this reflects a general problem that we've seen a lot, which is that the TC is sort of seen as a technical catch-all to keep things from falling through the cracks. And this is the reason why anyone's even expecting the TC to pick up the pieces here. And as pointed out by Sylvain, that doesn't necessarily map up the best technical people with the best folks for the job. So I would even suggest in that perhaps, a little bit of use of supply and demand and economics is in play here, of that if the TC doesn't act as a backstop, then perhaps more interested parties will step up and take that action, because I think there is an assumption and a reliance from some parts of the community that if they don't do something, that someone on the TC team or one of the other shared teams will step up and do it.
Makes sense. Doug?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really just echoing what Jay is saying there, right? I mean, we can't just backstop and say, oh, this will be maintained, right? There's apathy for a reason. And at some point you gotta, like, we can't maintain the whole world. can't have our own version of everything, right? At some point we kind of have to say we only have so much energy and effort, right?
I totally understand all of that. Basically, the statement with or proposal to make TC was like really like an idea, because there is apparently nothing else working. And the bigger problem from my point of view is that if no one takes care right now, this is something similar to eventlet. Even it's not hurting so much, but when we have troubles with Sphinx and OpenStack doc theme, basically every single OpenStack project is affected. That's the problem behind that.
Yeah, that's true. And what my worry is, we might see more than OpenStack theme in future, like what all we have Oslo libraries. You might see the same problem coming up for all other OpenStack libs too. So just putting them in TC might be, give a message that, okay, TC is there to maintain all these Oslo lib and other common libraries. So, but instead of that, we should convey like we need a maintainer. And it was same thing like when the things came up for QA also, and I kept mentioning even in the board and everywhere, like these are the our software or libraries or support team, which are not directly consumed by customer at their product. So they might not see, okay, what is Oslo and why we need to maintain it, because we are not having any customer based on Oslo. So we have to convey that these are important. Like if Oslo goes unmaintained, how you run with Noah and Glance, there is a chances that they might fail as a software, right? So we have to convey that to our user also, that these are our libraries, they should come up and maintain, instead of just, helping in the feature they want on their customer side. And Other thing I wanted to say, like for OS API ref, I have been like involved in API guidelines since starting, so I can help. Obviously not from TC perspective, but as my bandwidth in community work, I can help for OS API ref, but not for the OpenStack doc theme. That still doesn't fit in my current bandwidth. So API ref definitely I can help on that.
In that case, the problem is that they are tightly coupled. You can't simply merge OSAPI-ref without also respecting OpenStack doc theme and other way around the theme.
So, I mean, if you really consider the problem is that we basically need people that know about a bit of Sphinx, but not really a bit of Python.
Yeah,
what I'm saying,
it's Sphinx plus JavaScript plus
yeah,
HTML,
Sphinx
this
plus
sort of
like
stuff.
for example, I was looking at your own change, which was to upgrade Bootstrap. I know what Bootstrap is, but I was wondering, like 2 hours before someone was going to Nova meeting and say, okay, I'm like a new contributor and I want to help Nova, but I don't really know what to do. Do we think as a TC that maybe you need some help for finding contributors that will help you? Because then I could be saying to that specific contributor, maybe you're not really a Python expert, but do you already know about Sphinx? Because then if you know about Sphinx, you could be like helping that specific other team, which would be like OpenStack Docs team. So what I'm saying is that I'm not saying this is a low-hanging fruit, but some way to say, guys that want to work on OpenStack and are a bit afraid because of X or Y could be helping that specific project, because basically if you already know JavaScript and let's say JavaScript and Sphinx, I'm not saying you're basically done, but you're in a better situation than for example, wanting to work on the Nova conductor or the Nova scheduler or something like that, which is a bit difficult because you basically need to know about placement and other stuff, blah, blah, blah. That's what I'm just saying. So if the TC can help, I will say that the TC could help in ways to tell contributors that this specific project is here, and maybe they could also like review the patches. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to give specific stuff for new contributors saying, okay, basically if you review this, basically you become a maintainer in like 1 week. But that could be a way for us to know that this is going fine. And basically Gutam explained it better than me in like just one phrase. Yes, indeed, we have upstream investment opportunities. And that's one way of telling it.
Jake?
So I agree with you a little bit to the point where I've even put effort in this direction. Last year, G Research paid a docs expert to do an audit of the ironic docs. We got a lot of low-hanging fruit bugs that came out of it. But what we were finding the problem is that whereas OpenStack in general is a difficult project to get spun up on, it's incredibly difficult for people to interface with some of our docs stuff when they don't necessarily understand the cloud context. And it requires a large amount of hand-holding. Like I personally taken 2 people from, intern fellowship level to regular OpenStack contributors. One's a reviewer on Ironic now. And that took months of working with them side by side, hand in hand, as like 10-20% plus of my job. So I agree with you that is the A+ path, but I'm skeptical that it's actually one that we can tread, because that actually requires more effort in the short term than just fixing the problem does.
I don't disagree with you, Jay. I'm just saying that when I'm looking at the patch in question, I mean, people don't need to know about Nova, Neutron, or Ironic. They need to know about JavaScript. And that's way different. I'm talking about the Bootstrap upgrade. So that's why I was thinking you don't really need to know anything specific about OpenStack. What you basically know is just about JavaScript. Not really JavaScript, right? But let's say JavaScript, Sphinx, and a few other things. I mean, I don't know what you think about that, Artem, but
And one more thing, did we bring this in Oslo team or channel that they don't want to maintain? I mean, there is no maintainer, but still any plan that Oslo team has? Because current deliverable, it comes under Oslo project. So I'm thinking we should get their opinion. I mean, Stefan already raised the voice, but in case they have any way to get more volunteer to maintain.
No, I wasn't asking that way. I thought statement from Steven would be enough to start going to TC.
I see.
Looking to the members of the Oslo group, it's actually, well, the active ones would be Steven plus Takashi. Okay, Herb is also there as core.
Yeah.
It's one of those teams where you need a lot of different kinds of experts. So
yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how, like, just like Keystone, I think we should more think about the Oslo also, because there are a lot of libraries, and the maintainer we see Stefan or even Takashi or anyone there helping with their extended effort, right? So maybe as a TC we should start thinking about these Keystone Oslo as together, like how we can revive them, how we can get more contributors there. Because now, as Dimia raised for these OpenStack theme API ref, we might see more and more libraries coming up in the same situation.
Doug is having raised
Yes.
hand since quite a long time.
Yeah, sorry about that,
Yeah.
Doug. Go ahead.
No. I mean, I think Jeremy said what I was trying to get at in IRC, which is if there's no interest in it, I mean, we should really think about moving away from it. And yeah, let's do the needful right now to unblock and get going and move forward. But I think one of the other things would be, why do we need OS API ref? What are we doing so different with Open API that Swagger can't handle that? And do we need to do that? And just use a canned thing in the end. I think there's definitely some limitations of the current theme that make it harder for people, right? You Google search, I mean, one of the things that always strikes me when dealing with anybody is you Google search something and Google's going to give you a link to, Train or Pike or something like that. And we've now added a banner that says you're not on the latest docs. But that's not all that helpful, right? Because the only thing to click there takes you to the main docs homepage, right? There's no like read the docs as select a version, right? That's something that's in a lot of themes, and that's going to be out of the box in a lot of those themes to have multiple version references. Like that's one thing that's a nicety for users.
To comment on your statement, Doug, the statement from Jeremy was not more or less not about OS API ref, but about OpenStack.theme. so that we
Yeah.
could, and this is really very, very different. So from one point of view, OpenStack doc theme is just the styling of every doc site. OS API-ref is something completely different. And what we could theoretically do is getting rid of OpenStack doc theme in favor of vanilla Sphinx theme. And this should be not a really big deal, but we lose all styling. That's kind of the problem that most likely TC need to answer. And regarding the Open API, that is pretty much why what I'm working on last like 2-3 years. OpenStack APIs are not Open API compatible natively, and I need to do a lot of tricks to actually squeeze all the madness of OpenStack APIs into that. And idea is exactly to make experience really like OpenAPI, very OpenAPI close to that. But we still would not be able to get rid of OS API-ref or the follow-up OpenAPI kind of extension. So that is still necessary for the next couple of years until next revision of OpenAPI comes out. So with OpenAPI 4.0, most likely we would be able to address all of the issues, but still unsure about really all. Just today figured out few another really very funny cases in the placement APIs that OpenAPI simply says you can't do that.
Right. Sylvain, we have a minute. Do you have stuff?
I will stop. I think I will just say that there are many reasons why we can't do Swagger, like microversions is one of them. And basically that's it. That's it. And also because if you would like to use Swagger, it will be a many more problem because of the contributors, because that will be changing a lot of the current documentation for API-ref. That's basically what I just wanted to say.
Yeah,
Okay.
and just to add, like we tried that migration to Swagger in Noah in 2016, 15 or 17, very long back. And we had a lot of POC and everything, but as Sean mentioned, based on the effort, changes and all those things, we didn't migrate that to Swagger that time.
Now we are much closer to that, but still it's not about OpenAPI Swagger. It's about literally OpenStack doc theme, which is at the moment with no maintenance.
All right. All right. Thank you, everyone. I think we have to cut this meeting short. I mean, we are at time, and we will probably move the other discussion items to the next week. There wasn't anything novel this week. It was the usual discussion item. So if you feel compelled, let's continue talking on the OpenStack TC channel. But otherwise, thanks everyone for coming and for raising these discussion items. I'll see you in the next week in the OFTC. Nice to chat.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.